Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and just a sort of a quick overview video. I have reviewed three out of the 5 reward tanks before, although they were slightly different versions, which I'll go through, and I will be doing a playlist as well. I've just basically had to wait for the reward tanks to be credited to my Xbox account, because normally we don't get reward tanks credited because it means that we can't earn them, but seeing as I normally earn things on my PlayStation account, I've had them put on my Xbox one so that I can have a look at them and sort of let you guys, have a bit of a look. So, like I say, I have reviewed 3 of these before. I will mention that sort of in a moment as I'm going through them, but this is more of just a quick overview just to give people an idea of what they are in case they don't want to watch all 5 reviews or whatever. This just gives you a bit of a rundown of them. So, like I said before, we've got 5. 4 of them are British and 1 French. And yeah, we'll just start at the beginning with the Tier 4 AC1 Sentinel. Now, I have reviewed the Vanquisher version, which was the one that you could win, and it has a perma camo on it. And that is the only difference between this one and, in fact, the AC4 Experimental, which is the Sentinel AC4 Experimental with the perma camo. And this one's the Vanquisher, but anyway. The only difference is the perma camo, so, you know, I can talk about these and use that review because it still stands. So, this is the first one you can earn, the AC1 Sentinel, Tier 4 British medium tank. Not a bad little medium, actually, quite a decent little crew trainer. And I've mentioned this before, and somebody said, about the Matilda having, better rate of fire and damage and armor and what have you, and yeah, it does, but this still does remind me in a lot of ways of the Matilda. It's just, it's quicker than the Matilda, it's got a better power to weight ratio, and it's also got a better top speed, and the armor's not quite as good, but it's not quite as flat on the front either, so it is quite angled on the front, but it is quicker, similar sort of gun. I'm not saying, yeah, it's exactly like a Matilda, but it does kind of remind me of one in a lot of ways, but it is quicker. So it's got a decent top speed of 60 kilometers an hour, but the power to weight ratio isn't the best, it's 11.83, but it can get up there because its terrain resistances aren't too savage. So, they could be better, they could be worse, but it does take a while to get up to 60, but it can do it, so it is fairly nippy. It's got decent gun depression as well, I think. Yeah, 10 degrees of gun depression, so it's got good gun depression, 65mm all around the turret, 65 on the front of the hull, and then it's a bit thinner on the back and sides. But when using that gun depression, especially when you're top tier, this can be quite a decent tank, and it can, because it can shift when it wants to, it takes a little bit of getting up to speed, but it can get up there. You can move about the battlefield, and, when you are top tier, you can bounce quite a few shots, especially when you're using that gun depression on ridges. But it's quite a nice little British crew trainer, so, if you've not got one yet, and you are wanting one, this is a fairly decent little crew trainer for the British. And it's not bad. Like I say, it's got a 2-pounder like the British, like the Matilda does, but that has the Mark 10B. This one is lower down, so it does have lower pen and damage. I think it's on like 88 and 40 something. In fact, let's just have a quick check. Yeah, 88, 45, but you've got 26 rounds a minute and a decent aiming time as well, and the accuracy is not too savage. Now, this is the second time I've recorded this overview because I felt I'd done something wrong in it yesterday, and I had. In fact, I kept referring to this as having a 20-pounder. I wish it did, but no, it doesn't. It's a 2-pounder. But yeah, there you go, AC1 Sentinel. So, next one, AC4 Experimental. I quite like this tank. Like I say, I've got the Sentinel version with the perma camo. So the only difference is the concealment rating on this one and the AC1. But in theory, if you put camo on it, it will have the same concealment rating because the height and concealment is to account for the perma camo. But anyway, this one, again, 65mm all round. It's got the same armor profile as the Tier 4, which just, kind of gives you an idea of how good the armor is on the Tier 4, the fact that this is a Tier 6. A little bit longer, possibly. The armor isn't too savage. I mean, I know that does look bad, but, it's fairly well angled, and again, when you're using your gun depression, you can bounce a few shots. I feel like the armor profile isn't quite as bad as that on this, but yeah, No, it is. But anyway, it has got angles to it, keep it at a bit of range. And especially with the tier 6, you do want to keep yourself at a bit of range. And this one reminds me a lot of a Firefly. Or obviously, you know, in turn the Boilermaker, which is a Firefly. But it does remind me a lot of that. It's got a 17 pounder, so it's got, you know, it's a really quite a good gun on a tier 6 medium. Because you've got 171 pen, 12 rounds a minute, 150 damage. Aiming time 2.10 seconds, accuracy 0.39. Again, slightly small engine, but you do have a fairly decent top speed of 60 kilometers an hour again. But again, not a particularly good power to weight ratio, but it can get up there, and it does do 60. It does slow down a fair bit going through rivers and things like that, but it, you know, it can do it. And again, details on this, you know, I've reviewed the Permacamo one, but I will put it all in a playlist for everybody to sort of have a look at, and I'll probably feature it across my videos like I did with the Dream Machines one. But yeah, this is very much like a Firefly, and you might be thinking, well, I've got a Firefly, or I've got a Boilermaker, do I want to earn this? In a lot of ways, I prefer this to the Firefly because it's got very similar performance on the gun, if not exactly the same. But it's got gun depression, and that's the main difference. The Firefly doesn't have very good gun depression at all, because, you know, every degree that the barrel goes down outside the turret, the breech has to go up inside, and they struggle to fit the 17 pounder in the Sherman turret anyway, so there's not much room in there. In fact, they had to turn it sideways to make it a side loader, just to get it to fit. But this one does have minus 10 degrees of gun depression, so it's kind of like a Firefly, but a bit quicker, and it's actually got gun depression, and I quite like this one, and I do prefer it to the Firefly. It's not a brawler, it's not fast, and, you know, it's got a good top speed, but not a very good power to weight ratio. But if you like Firefly, you like your medium to long range snipers, this could possibly be the tank for you to win. Now, moving along, Cromwell B. I must admit that, you see, this is, again, I'm in a bit of a quandary. The tanks that you get, they're not, you know, they're good tanks. These are good, earnable tanks. They are. You know, it's not as though they're giving us just dross here, but the thing is, with the Cromwell B, I'm a bit disappointed with that. I love the way it looks, but I just felt like it might be something slightly different, because I think it might have been Skate Extreme was mentioning to me that on Blitz, that the Cromwell B has better gun depression and rate of fire than the Knight, whereas on console it is exactly the same as the Knight, apart from two small differences. Well, three if you count the look. Although I do prefer the way that this looks. I really don't like the look of the Knight. Some people do, some people don't. My wife quite likes the look of the Knight. I don't. I really don't. I much prefer the look of this. But it is exactly the same as the Knight, apart from this has a worse aiming time, because the Knight has a pretty damn good aiming time of like 1.7 or 1.9 seconds. I think this is about 2.3. But this has better accuracy. This is something like 0.36. The Knight is about 0.41. They both show with the short 75mm, is it? Yep. So the gun on both is the short 75mm, but they've got the performance, pen and everything else wise, you know, pen damage, rate of fire of the long 75, fully upgraded gun on the Tech Tree Cromwell. And this one is basically exactly the same as the Tech Tree Cromwell in everything, including aim time and accuracy, apart from this, along with the Knight as well, has increased hull traverse. A full upgraded Cromwell has 36 degrees hull traverse. The Cromwell Knight and the Cromwell B both get 50 degrees of hull traverse, which is really good. You know, it's quite, you know, it's fantastic. So basically what we've got here is kind of like a reskin again, which is a shame to say, because, like, you know, again, there's nothing wrong with the Cromwell. It's quite a nice tank to use, but this is kind of just like another reskin, and I would have liked something maybe slightly different on it, some sort of different performance, that sort of thing, because, like I say, it is exactly the same as the Knight, apart from aim time is worse on this, accuracy is better, and it's exactly the same as a fully upgraded Tech Tree Cromwell, apart from the hull traverse is 14 degrees better. So there you go. I don't really know what else to say about the Cromwell B, because of what it is. It's, you know, it's a Cromwell. If you like Cromwells, you're going to like it. If you've got the Knight, is it worth getting this? Well, that's up to you, isn't it? But it's there, you can earn it, it's free. It's not as though you're having to pay out for it. Now, moving along. Oh, and the Cromwell B review should be up later today, along with the Revalorise. Didn't quite manage to get it done yesterday, and I've had to obviously redo this morning. Now, oh, the other thing, yeah, it stopped recording as well. Chieftain T95. Again, I have reviewed the Sentinel version of the Chieftain T95. No difference, apart from perma-camo. So the Sentinel has slightly increased concealment rating over this one. But again, in theory, if you put camouflage on it, it should have the same. And the main difference, which you can obviously see, is no sandbags, no barbed wire. So I am going to use the review for the Sentinel in the playlist. But when I'm going on about the sandbags, which do act as spaced armour, they're only somewhere between 1 to 20mm. I'm assuming the more 20mm limit. Maybe that's just hopeful. But anyway, yeah, they do act as spaced armour. So when I'm going on about that in the review for that, just ignore me. And basically, if you get this one, you're not going to get those sandbags. Now, what this essentially is the hull of a Chieftain, the Tier 10, with the turret from an American tank that we don't have in the game yet. And it's got a fairly decent 90mm, 212 pen. Obviously 240 damage. Oh no, sorry, 202. 202 pen, 7.23 rounds a minute, 240 average damage. The front of the turret is very, very tough at 254. The lower glacis and the hull are quite weak and thin. However, the upper glacis, even though it's thin, it's only about 85mm, I think it is, very, very, very well angled and can bounce a hell of a lot of shots. In fact, the main weaknesses of this frontally are your lower glacis and the glaring, massive Commander's machine gun cupola on top, which is very, very thin. In fact, it's so thin, and that's one of the things that does bug me about the Sentinel and in turn this, and is the reason why I don't take it out very often. It is 31 to 50mm. Now I understand it can't be too tough because it would be basically a Tier 8 medium tank that can probably outperform a lot of Tier 10s armour wise. You know, if that's the case, definitely Tier 9s. You know, if you can hide that lower glacis, it's very, very bouncy. I just wish it was a bit tougher so that, you know, Tier 5s couldn't pen it, or in fact maybe Tier 4s can pen that quite easily. So I don't know, I just think it needs some slight buff to the Commander's hatch, but there you go. But I will put the review in there, and in fact there's two parts of that because I do in fact test out that upper glacis with it only being 85mm, but very well angled. I do test it out and actually find that there's kind of a shot trap caused just underneath where the driver's viewport is. If you can hit around there, a lot of the time the shell can ricochet up into the underneath of the turret, so might be worth keeping in mind. And last but not least, the M4A1 Revalorise. Very, very similar to the M51 Super Sherman. The review for this again will be up by tonight. And a lot of people thought we may not be getting this, and that the M51 Super Sherman was our version of it on console, but it's not. It's here. Again, if you've already got the Super Sherman, is there much point in getting this or earning it? That's entirely up to you. It's very, very similar. In fact, armour-wise, hull, turret, etc., the same. It is the same. Gun performance, off the top of my head, because I've not had a look at my Super Sherman just yet, because that's on my PS4 and I'm on Xbox at the moment. Gun performance, off the top of my head, I think is the same as well. Aim time, accuracy, rate of fire, I believe is the same, although I could be slightly wrong, but I'll cover that more in the review. The difference, or the main difference between this and the Super Sherman, is engine size and terrain resistance, although I think one does have slightly better hull traverse, but again it could just make up for the engine size. So the Revalorise has a bigger engine, the M51 Super Sherman has better terrain resistance, and I think possibly even a slightly better top speed, but again, don't quote me on that. That's something I'm going to check on. It's just going from memory. But it's kind of like a, again, kind of like a Tier 8 Tier 8 Firefly, that's the one I'm looking for. Similar sort of thing, you know, weaker hull, decent gun, and it is a very decent gun. It can pack a punch, it uses APCR as standard, and the shell velocity is fantastic on this, but it is a very sort of, very much a support tank. You have the hull and turret of a Tier 5 Sherman. Tier 5, yeah, this is Tier 8, so do bear that in mind. I've had the odd lucky bounce off the front, and I mean lucky. But generally, if something's going to hit you, it's going to pen. So you want to keep medium to long range, play the supporting role, and it's very good at it because Well, your shell velocity is very good. It's almost like you pull the trigger, you hit them. It's very, very good shell velocity. But again, I'll go into that in more detail in the actual review for it. This was just a quick rundown to give you basically a bit of an idea of what you were looking at, because people are going to be starting to get towards maybe earning one or two of these now, if they haven't already. So, you know, just a sort of, like I say, well, an overview. Exactly what I've done, an overview, a little bit of a description of each one, and just telling you what kind of tank it is, really, and sort of what it's about. So there you go. I know I've not included any gameplay in this because, like I say, I've got the reviews there. This will be in the playlist with the reviews, and the reviews for the Berlin and the Revalorise will both be up by tonight. I've just about done the Berlin one, so that'll be uploaded this afternoon, and the Revalorise hopefully this evening, so it should all be there. But anyway, I think that's it, really. So yeah, if you like your mediums, I'd probably go for the Chieftain T95. You've got that or the Huntsman to choose from in the British at tier 8, really. Even though the Huntsman's not available yet, but it's, if you can earn this for free and you like your high tier mediums, it's quite a nice tank. It does feel a little bit sluggish, but it's not bad. Cromwell B, you pretty much know what you're getting. AC4, bit like a Firefly. AC1, bit like a Matilda. And then the Revalorise, well, virtually the same as the M51 Super Sherman. But there you go. So, I'll be back hopefully later with another couple of videos. So until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.